Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Wednesday. It's March 4th. This will be our chart lesson for today. Really similar day as to yesterday. We had the downtrend, the break, a new low, and then we had a two-tiered channel working up. Notice the overshoot here, and then we got the overshoot on the other side. This might be a tad lower right here. I don't think I got it exactly. It's kind of hard to do it when you're pulled out a little further. But anyway, that's the way I saw it. Um, we had a two-tiered channel working down the break and you low and then moving up, and the overshoot here was the clue that you may overshoot down here, and you might have considered going short in here, but I think it was risky. Once it broke through, it just the bottom fell out of it, so it really didn't give you a pull back to test the midline and a better chance to get in. I don't think you want to get in here. All of these would have worked. There is a trap here, but there's so much congestion, so you might have considered entering here on a short. That would have been a great trade if you did. And I guess I will circle that one green now that we've talked about it, and people understand that you'd only want to enter there. It's a high risk trade, so um, you know, if it turns back up, you better exit. So, but let's back out, look at the bigger picture. But it does look very much like yesterday. And just to go back, you can see yesterday, and then we trended up. Although today's trend up was a little stronger than yesterday. And guess where we turned down? Right at 2100. Talked about that all week, how that's an important level, and prices will play both sides of it for a while before they figure out which way they're going to go. But this is what we saw when we came in. We were working down. There's quite a few entries in here. Um, The first one I saw was just a little after the open. There was actually a consideration to go long right here, but I think it's risky. There's definitely a double bottom there and then a little higher low. If you use the limit order and went long there, you might take that trade. But then you went into all this, and it's just kind of moving over to the other side where the trend line is. And notice what happens when it touches. Get this big bearish bar. You really could have entered right under here because it's a failed second entry long. So I liked entering there. But once you saw this bar and it broke lower, you might want to use a stop because it may take off without you. But then again, it's so close to these lows, you may want to jump in with a limit order. And it would have come back and filled you all the way back to right here. All the way back to the 98.50. And then you see that gives you room to get out before you get to those lows. You could have done that one a couple of different ways, but that was a great trade. Um, if you entered properly, you probably had a runner there. Um, and then you get another little break higher here. It's a breakout pullback short from these lows right here, and another bearish bar. And at that point, let me move this. I would be looking for my first target would be that right there. And notice that's pretty much what you got, almost to the tick. It looks like it got maybe a tick more than that. And you do have this channel working down too, and that works off that. You notice that right there coming down. And so that works off that first two swings. That confirmed the trend. So that's another reason to enter there. This is the first break. I would have liked this better if it turned higher, but notice the new low, first entry, pullback, second entry. It is a second entry short, and it's a pullback. It's like a breakthrough pullback or breakout pullback on that midline. And so that's another reason to enter short right there. And if you waited on this bar, you might have said, hey, if it breaks lower and pulls back, I'll enter with a limit order. But I don't think you would have gotten more than a tick or so back, and then it took off. And then notice that's really like a new swing high, pullback first entry, pullback second entry. This is going short at the very low of the day, but notice we haven't gotten, we don't really have that measured move yet. This is a little bit lower, it's like right in there. We don't really have that measured, or we haven't touched the lower side, so this one really could be green. it's a little bit questionable, but the fact, if you notice that we've got a two tiers and we're not to the low side, we probably won't reverse till we get there. And notice what happens when we touch the low side. It does push lower one more time, but then it heads to the other side. And that's just what prices do. They swing back and forth between support and resistance. Um, and these trend lines and trend channel lines are support and resistance. They're just not flat. They're not horizontal. They're more angled. They're not flat. And you don't have a break of this bigger channel, so you got to wait. This one I went back and forth about making it green because notice if we'd have come straight off and went higher, questionable. But the fact that we got that little trap right there, I guarantee there's people trapped short. Um, but that's a new low, first entry pullback, second entry, and it's a little bitty bar, so it's very low risk. It worked, and then of course it does run up and run the stops, and then it turns down. Um, so, and then to back up, notice this channel working up, we had a break and a new high. So there's some reasons, and it is right off the trend line. So there's some reasons to enter right there. This is really just a first entry short. But this trap people, when it broke higher above all those matching lows, and they actually extend over here. So there's some reasons to go short there. And you're looking for, in a move down that strong, you're looking for a retest of the lows. You might be better off waiting on a second entry. You don't really get it though till way over here. And you've already, actually you didn't quite get a new low in. It's close enough that it could reverse from there. But that's a nice bearish spot. Really, you want to have your stop there and let it break lower. But this thing closed on this low and instantly opened on the other side. So you would have gotten filled, and then it bounces back up. And so if you didn't, you could drop a limit order in there and still get filled. And of course, it makes a measured move down. And that would have been my target right there. There's the first leg, and there's the measured move, a perfect measured move. And then you end up getting a third leg that's also another perfect measured leg. But I don't think I would enter here. I think it's too late because now you have your break, two legs down to a new low. A lot of times they'll push it down again and trap people, and that's what happened. But once we made this low and started up, I don't think you want to enter here. I think you got to wait for a little better. But notice what happens. Notice how it's not going right through the EMA, but notice how there's no rejection there. Look what happened when it touched the EMA here and here. It might hang around a minute, but eventually it's rejected and takes off. Look going back. Look what happened here. It hung around a minute, but then it gets rejected, and you don't get that here. It trades on through. And even though it's going back and forth, and you get a first entry short, a second entry short, you really could have entered above that trade. But when it turned down again right here and then turned up, if you weren't in, you got to enter right there. And also, if you were already here, I would add on right there because you're probably going higher. And it does. This was a quick, easy move, and then you get another little trap, a second entry long, and it shoots up another leg. This was the first break. Actually, you had a close out here, but it's questionable. But it's no doubt here, and then it moves to a new low. But it looks like you got a break here, and then two legs up, and then it corrects. Okay, I had a slight interruption, but nice second entry long there. Another quick, easy one. Now you made a new high, so just kind of sit and see if we don't come back down here. I don't think you want to take the first entry. If it would have closed on its high and then broke right above, maybe. But when it turns down and then goes back up, just go long right there. Another great entry, and you could have caught a runner right there, and you could have ridden that all the way up as far as you wanted to go here, really. And then you get another chance. This is just like a breakout pullback. We went through the EMA, pulled back and tested it, and then went higher again. Another runner here, and you could have stayed with this one as well. This one was a little questionable. I don't have it on here, but there's another trend line working up through here. This was the first break, so you're probably going to get a new high, but there's a lot of overlap here. We weren't back to the EMA. We weren't back to the midline. And it was questionable whether or not we were to the top or not. I mean, this could have easily been right there. Um, it's not quite a measured move if you're using this as your midpoint. And it's obvious this is the midpoint here because look how it bounces a couple of times. But look how it gapped over there. It may be just a tad lower, and it may be a little steeper than I have it drawn. When you start to narrow down like this, sometimes you realize you don't have it exactly right. And but in the end, and it probably is right there, to be honest. That looks like it fits really well. It looks like it's, a lot of times I just eyeball it. I've gotten good enough, but you're better off to measure it straight up and then measure it from there, and then you know you get it right. And you can see that's right. That's perfect. Um, and so that was the clue. But if you do put it right there, you've already bounced off of it. But still, you're looking for it to push to a new high. You may not go all the way back up, but you probably figure you'll try to get a new high. There's some reasons to be leery of entering right there. There's been too many good trades to risk this one, especially if you didn't take these. If you're in all these and you want to add on one just to see what happens, I don't even think it's worth it then because you know you're running out of room up here. Why risk it? Just wait on a better entry, and then it does touch the and you get two leg. It does touch the upper side. Then where is it probably headed? Actually, I think this is just a tad. I don't think we quite touched it there. And then you get two legs back and it bounces and it goes higher. And this is a second entry long. If you didn't enter when it broke above this doji, and that looks like a doji, but it closed almost, it's one tick from closing on its high. It could have flipped either way. But if you didn't enter there when it turned back down and then went higher, just go long right there. Because you're probably going back to the upper side again. And that's where it starts to find resistance. And look how it pushes on through. And then, of course, now you've got your overshoot. So now you get your move back to the other side. And this is probably where you're going to get your break. And guess what you do? And you get a little trap right there. And then it breaks higher. I went back and forth about whether or not to make this one green. But if you saw this channel, it's pretty obvious what's going on. And again, it kind of backs off the EMA, but then you're expecting another leg up, and there's only one leg up there, so look for at least a measured move, and you might get more. So from there, if you're looking for prices to go to at least there, and look how it tried to back up, but it pushes on up. And and then that takes you into the 2 o'clock hour. I didn't see any more trades. Let me get that off there. But very similar to yesterday. It's a little steeper sell-off and a little stronger rally. But we sold way below 2100, then we rallied all the way back to it and turned off of it. I think it's to the tick, to be honest with you. We missed 2100 by one tick. You can see that right there. But that's also where the resistance was earlier this morning. Imagine that. That's what prices do. They'll keep testing these areas all the way up until they find one that holds, and that one holds. But you don't need to know that. All you got to do is follow the other stuff going up here. It's there. I mean, these smaller channels are there. And somebody sent me an email this morning. He was a little worried because he saw something like this, but then he realized there's a bigger channel, and my explanation to him was, guess what? There's trends. This is why price action works on any level, because there's different things going on all at one time. There's short terms, and there's even a shorter term than here. There's probably one little bitty one. We don't want to narrow down too far because you'd have to really go to a smaller chart. But if you can see a micro move or a macro move on this chart, pay attention to it because it works the same on every level. And I hope that makes sense. Not only do you got this bigger two-tiered channel, you've got this smaller two-tiered channel working within it. You get a break, a couple legs to a new low, and then it's reversing. And where does it go? It goes to the other side, and you finally get a break there and a couple of legs down, and then it reverses. And so within this bigger channel, you got this channel and it follows the rules. You got this channel that follows the rules. And then there's another one even right here, which I don't have the line on there. You don't really need it here because it's too far along. You don't want to be trying to go long up into this because the bigger pattern, the macro is going to overweigh the micro. And the micro one, for a moment, was a little stronger, but then it finally gave up and it's going the other way. And there's a short-term trend line there, right down through there. And then there's probably a longer term one right down through there. Just like so. And if you copy that and drag it down, I bet it fits real nicely. Look at that. Fits perfectly. And so keep that in mind. I hope that answers that question for that. But again, we just had a nice trend down, the break of the trend line, the new low, and then we reversed the break, and we were working on a retest here when we ran out of time today. So lots of trades today in both directions, and it was pretty clear we were working down, and then it was pretty clear we were working higher. This is where a lot of people get fooled here in no man's land. That's why I tell people, if you know, just wait till you get a confirmed trend in the other direction or the trap or whatever. Just don't take any more shorts from here, and don't take any more longs. You got to just be patient until you realize what's going on. Then when you realize what's going on and it's going higher, then start looking for longs. But that's where most people fail at trading. They don't have patience. They'll sit here and they're scared to take all these really good trades. And then they'll finally say, all right, if it starts doing that again, I'm getting in. And then it starts getting in. They watch the first couple, and finally they say, I'm getting in from right here. That's when they finally get up their nerve, and that's when it's all over. And they get short a couple times and get burned, and it's heading the other way. And they go, you know, it's what happened? It was moving so strongly down, and then suddenly it's moving just as strongly the other direction. What happened? Well, if you understand prices, you realize that we ran out of sellers, and it became a good buy, and so the buyers come in and start buying. And that's just the way the market works. And so I hope that's helpful to you, but I'm going to wrap it up and call it a day. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.